return to MetLife. Divorce has gone well for Saquon. For the Giants, not so much. Here's Saquon on his return to New York.
I said I don't expect to get booed, and I was meaning more of like it's the game is this rivalry is so much bigger than what happened in the offseason between me and the Giants or Hard Knocks. Like, this has been going on for a very long time. So I've been on the other side, and I know how Giants fans feel. So I don't know what the environment's going to be like, but I'm excited.
Okay, here's how Saquon has done compared to all of the Giants running backs.
That's wild.
I would give that to Saquon. So, Brewer, are you expecting a monster revenge game for Saquon here?
Well, first, I don't expect him to get booed. Now, they might boo him during, because, one, he was such a high character guy in New York. The team, it was just a bad run for the team. And I think the fans understand the Giants should have paid him instead of Daniel Jones. And the money obviously wasn't even equal. So I think the fans feel like you kept the wrong guy. All right, we should have Saquon. So, and I think if the Giants were better and really like competing for something, maybe then they might boo him. But I just think he won't get booed. Not before the game. Maybe during the game, once it gets going, they'll boo whatever Philadelphia does well. But to answer your question, yeah, I expect a big game because I think he had a bad game against Cleveland or didn't do much against Cleveland. But the other 4 games, he's been great outside of the drop against Atlanta. And so I think he's going to play well, but I also think Philadelphia's going to go out of its way to kind of try to help him play well within winning the game. Sirianni, that seems like his personality to try to get him going. I think the players really like Saquon, so they're going to try to get him going. So if they can, they're going to get him a few touchdowns. So I do think he'll play big, Coach.
Yeah, I would imagine he's going to get booed. I don't think the Giants fans are that nice. I mean, maybe they are that nice, but still a Philadelphia Eagle at the end of the day, and so I'd imagine that'll happen. In terms of his production, he's got the best average that he's had better than his rookie season. But you're right, last week against Cleveland, he averaged 2.6 yards a carry, which is his worst game so far. And Saquon's game is typically the 100-yard games are punctuated by one big run. There's a little bit of Breece Hall in that mix, in the sense that there's usually a big run and then a bunch of kind of middle of the pack runs. I'm not sure how Philly's going to approach it in terms of trying to push the ball to him. They're in a position where they just need to figure out how to score.
That's right.
And they've got to score in the first quarter. They've got to get rid of that monkey that's on their back. And they also got both of their star receivers back last week. They're going to want their touches. So I would imagine they'll respect the fact that this is personal to Saquon, but above everything else, out a way to score some points.
Yeah, they're not a good enough team or in a strong enough position to be able to kind of go style points, if you will. Now, listen, I obviously was too pessimistic about Saquon's impact, or ability to consistently be a high-level player. In the offseason, I said I didn't think this was a significant move for Philadelphia. He, prior to the Cleveland game, had been the best player on their offense, bar none. And the Cleveland game was one game. I actually, though, think it's going to play out similar motivations, but in the opposite, which is I think the Giants coaching staff knows, you know what it will infuriate our owner? If Saquon Barkley comes here and cooks us.
Yeah.
We saw the owner on Hard Knocks being upset about it. And so I actually think this could lead to a huge A.J. Brown game or something. I think the Giants' defensive game plan is going to be anyone but him. Anyone but Saquon. Dare Jalen Hurts to beat us, whatever it is, because I just think it is going to be such a stinging indictment. And that whole regime is hanging by a thread, Wilds, that if Saquon comes in there and has multiple touchdowns or a huge game, it just reminded me enough of coaches. Woody Johnson gets embarrassed in England and people pay take. Saquon comes back to MetLife and beats you. That's a tough spot, man.
It won't be good.
All right, well, that's the beauty of Saquon, is that he's not just a traditional running back, so you can get him the ball in many different situations. If he was just a straight running back of some sort, then I would say that the Giants could maybe put all their efforts to stopping him, but because if you want to take away the run game or what Saquon can do and you want to leave the field open for Devontae and AJ, a monster game for AJ and Devontae is then just points and points and points and points and points and points and points. So what would be better? The Giants compete and fight for a win, or get rolled by 20 plus. So by all means, if that's the Giants game plan, by all means you go for it. I think just losing to the Eagles in general with Saquon Barkley is bad enough, quite frankly. But I do get the point that Nick is making. Right? They don't want Barkley to have this big game. I of course understand that, but just like how we're saying that the Eagles won't sacrifice their game plan in the name of trying to have Barkley have a big game, I'm not so sure that the Giants are going to sacrifice their game plan in the name of just trying to make sure that Barkley doesn't eat, because again, that's a hard enough thing in general, quite frankly, to do. So if you're gonna allocate all your resources to that, then Jalen Hurts and AJ and Devontae alone will just feast. And if they're feasting, then this team is in serious, then the Giants are in serious trouble. So, but as for Saquon getting booed, I don't think he'll get booed. I think he'll maybe get some boos during the game and stuff, just like kind of any Eagles player. But I think it's the idea of like every time he touches the ball, there's these mass boos everywhere. Like, I don't think he's going to get that. I think when they announce him and he's on the field and stuff in the beginning of the game, they'll get some claps and stuff like that. I don't think it'll be this big epic booing type of situation. I think the Giants fans and just people all around the NFL understand that Saquon Barkley is a great guy, right? He's not a villain. He wasn't really demonized. He wanted to be in New York. He wanted to be there. And you could even see on Hard Knocks, like they're the ones that said goodbye. So there's nothing to boo him. He didn't say, I don't want to be in New York. This is a clown show. Get me out of here. That's not what was the case. He wanted to be with New York. They would not do it. And even when he wanted a bigger contract and they couldn't, reach that conclusion together, he still played that one more year, right? He didn't go to, like, I think I talked about this in another video. Like, he didn't go to Mexico. He didn't do what Ezekiel Elliott has done, did with the Cowboys and other previous players. Like, he didn't do that. He ended up playing, and he did everything he could. He gave all his effort for a team that was clearly not good. So, but the other thing is that I've also talked about, but it's worth emphasizing, is to me with the Eagles, because I agree, at the end of the day, they don't have enough wiggle room. They can't kind of do like what the Lions did against the Cowboys, where they were like, we want to win this game big and we want to do trick plays, we want to get random people touchdowns, we want to send a message, right? We want revenge. The Eagles don't have that level of not only wiggle room, but also that level of mastery over what they're doing right now as a team, right? Like, they're trying to like regain their footing and regain their identity. So that comes first. But this is how you find out how connected the Eagles are as not only a team, but as a family and as a culture, because they want Barkley to have a big game. Remember when that whole thing came out with Hard Knocks? I think AJ came out and like tweeted something. I think he may have ended up deleting it or something, but he kind of came out and was like, in support of Barkley. So, this is what you see teams do. They rally behind their guys when they play their ex team and whatnot. And, the last time we really saw that in a really high level was with Cliff Kingsbury, and they used him as a scapegoat, fired him. And he was with the Commanders, and you knew he was in his bag and wanted to have a huge game. That team came together, and Cliff Kingsbury, after the game, like, he got the game ball, and they were all celebrating and going nuts for him. It was a really cool moment for him and the Washington Commanders. And Barkley wants this, and I imagine that the Philadelphia Eagles want this for him. So this is going to be interesting to see, one, how the team itself can get behind him, and two, how smart the coaching staff is, where they can get a big win, but still also highlight Saquon Barkley without it sacrificing any sort of, like, it's just part of the game plan because it's the right thing to do, and they don't force it, right? It's not one of those things where they're like, wow, they're really trying to force the ball to Saquon, and it's just not working. Like, AJ's wide open, but they're just trying to give it to Saquon, right? Like, I don't think that's going to happen at all. So I think we'll learn a little bit actually about the Philadelphia Eagles and where they stand from family, culture, and just overall quality of play, right? How smart are they and can they execute properly? So this to me is actually a pretty interesting game. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles and Saquon Barkley versus the New York Giants? You expecting a big monster revenge game for Barkley? Do you think that's necessary? Do you think we'll get booed? Do you think the Eagles are going to win this game? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.